Right now, there is a 3-hour adaptation of a nearly 3,000-year-old Greek poem playing in theaters. And it just delivered Christopher Nolan the biggest global opening weekend of his entire career. That film is The Odyssey, starring Matt Damon as Odysseus, and its success is remarkable when you think about it. This is not a superhero movie or an existing franchise. It's Homer. It's a text older than most religions, and audiences are showing up in massive numbers. And that got me thinking, this isn't actually new. Long before movies existed, ancient epics were already doing what movies do best, giving us heroes, wars, gods, and impossible choices. So it's no surprise that when cinema needed its biggest, boldest stories, it kept going back to the same source material. Today we're looking at a handful of films drawn from epic traditions across the world, what they were based on, and how audiences responded to them. Hello and welcome to Box Office Bhaskar. This channel exists to pull back the curtain on the global film industry. I examine film through 3 lenses: the business behind it, the content within it, and the audience behavior that drives it all. If you want to understand film at a deeper level, you're in the right place. Let's start with the story that basically defines the word epic in the Western world, the Trojan War. Homer's Iliad is one of the oldest works of literature we have, composed almost 3,000 years ago. It tells of a 10-year siege of the city of Troy, sparked by the abduction of Helen and driven by the pride and fury of the warrior Achilles. In 2004, director Wolfgang Petersen adapted this into the film Troy, starring Brad Pitt as Achilles, Eric Bana as Hector, and Orlando Bloom as Paris. The film deliberately strips away the gods and divine interventions of Homer's original, presenting the war as a human conflict of power, honor, and consequence. Troy went on to become one of the highest grossing films of its year, doing enormous business worldwide and cementing itself as one of the most commercially successful screen adaptations of an ancient epic. From Greece, we move to early medieval England and one of the oldest surviving poems in the English language, Beowulf. Composed by an anonymous poet sometime between the 8th and the 11th centuries, Beowulf follows a Scandinavian warrior who battles the monster Grendel, then Grendel's vengeful mother, and finally, decades later, a dragon that ultimately kills him. In 2007, director Robert Zemeckis turned this into a motion capture animated film, with Ray Winstone playing Beowulf and Angelina Jolie playing Grendel's mother. The film took creative liberties with the source material, reimagining the monster's mother as a seductive, manipulative figure rather than a straightforward villain. It performed solidly worldwide, though its high production budget meant it didn't turn out to be the financial triumph its studio had hoped for. Let's travel to China now, and one of the most beloved characters in all of East Asian storytelling, the Monkey King Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong comes from Journey to the West, a 16th century novel by Wu Cheng'en that follows a monk's pilgrimage to India, accompanied by a mischievous, immortal monkey with supernatural strength. The Monkey King had inspired dozens of adaptations, but the 2014 film, simply titled The Monkey King, starring Donnie Yen in the title role, focused on Sun Wukong's rebellion against the Jade Emperor and the heavens themselves. The film leaned heavily into spectacle and effects, and it found massive success in Chinese language markets, going on to gross well over $180 million worldwide. Sticking with China, but moving to a different era and a different epic, the Three Kingdoms period, and one of the most influential texts in Chinese literature, Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Written by Luo Gongzhang in the 14th century, this historical novel dramatizes the fall of the Han dynasty and the power struggles that followed, blending real history with legend. In 2008 and 2009, director John Woo adapted one of its most famous episodes, the Battle of Red Cliff, into 2 films, Red Cliff and Red Cliff Part 2. Featuring a sprawling ensemble cast and some of the largest battle sequences ever filmed at the time, the 2-part epic became a genuine cultural event in China, with the first film becoming the highest grossing Chinese language film in the country's history at the time of its release. Combined, the 2 films did significant business across Asian markets. Now let's go back further, not to a myth, but to a 19th century novel that became one of the most famous stories in American cinema, Ben-Hur. Lew Wallace's 1880 novel Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ, follows a Jewish prince named Judah Ben-Hur, who is betrayed by a childhood friend, enslaved by Rome, and who eventually finds redemption after encountering Jesus of Nazareth. While not an ancient epic itself, the novel was written in the grand tradition of epic storytelling, and its 1959 film adaptation, directed by William Wyler and starring Charlton Heston, became one of the defining spectacles of Hollywood's golden era. Its 9-minute chariot race remains one of the most celebrated action sequences ever filmed. At the time, Ben-Hur was the most expensive film ever made, and it earned back many times its budget, becoming one of the most successful films of its decade. A success that looks even more staggering once you adjust those numbers for what a dollar was worth back then. Let's move to South India now, and a story rooted not in mythology but in real medieval history, the Chora dynasty. Ponniyin Selvan is a Tamil historical novel written by Kalki Krishnamurthy in the 1950s, chronicling the political intrigue and power struggles surrounding the succession of the Chora Empire in the 10th century. Considered one of the greatest works of Tamil literature, it had been considered unfilmable for decades due to its scale and complexity. In 2022 and 2023, director Maniratnam finally brought it to the screen as a two-part film, Ponniyin Selvan Part 1 and Part 2, featuring a large ensemble cast including Karthi, Vikram, Aishwarya Rai and Trisha. The first part became the biggest Tamil film of all time at the point of its release, and together the two parts did enormous business, becoming one of the most successful cinematic adaptations of a modern Indian literary epic. Finally, let's look at a story almost everyone in India grows up with, the Ramayana. Composed by the sage Valmiki and considered one of the two great epics of ancient India alongside the Mahabharata, the Ramayana follows Prince Ram's exile, the abduction of his wife Sita by the demon king Ravana, and the war waged to bring her home. It's a story that has shaped religion, art, and culture across South and Southeast Asia for over 2,000 years. In 2023, director Om Raut adapted it into the film Adipurush, starring Prabhas as a Rama-inspired character. The film opened to a large audience but received considerable criticism over its poor visual effects and its dialogue, and its box office performance ultimately fell well short of expectations given how much was spent to make it. A much more ambitious two-part movie called Ramayana is under production. The first part is releasing in November 2026 and the second part exactly a year later. This new attempt seems more promising compared to Adipurush, at least for now. It is worth mentioning a few films deliberately left out and why. Films like Bahubali, Gladiator and 300 often get called epics, and visually they absolutely earn that label. But none of them are adaptations of an existing epic text. Bahubali borrows heavily from the storytelling traditions of the Ramayana and Mahabharata without retelling either. Gladiator invents a fictional story set in ancient Rome, and 300 dramatizes the Battle of Thermopylae, but it's based on a graphical novel, not any ancient Greek text. These films represent something worth noting in its own right. Original stories built in the image of ancient epics rather than retellings of them. Interestingly, several of them ended up out-earning the very epics that inspired their style. And that's the thing about epics. Whether it's the Odyssey or Ponniyin Selvan, Beowulf or the Ramayana, these stories have survived because they tap into something that doesn't change. Ambition, loyalty, revenge, sacrifice. Cinema did not invent any of that. It just found a new way to tell it. I hope you liked this video. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos about the global film industry. And let me know in the comments, what is your personal favorite epic to film adaptation? I would love to hear your thoughts. I will be back with another video very soon. Until then, it's bye from Box Office Bhaskar.